John B. Watson. Watson believed that human behavior resulted from specific stimuli that elicited certain responses. Watson's basic premise was that conclusions about human development should be based on observation or of overt behavior rather than speculation about subconscious motives or latent cognitive processes. One experiment, Little Albert, used classical conditioning on human. So in Ivan Pavlov used a dog. He used a dog to experiment. Then he used a food and a fork. If the dog will be response if the dog saw the food and the fork. So, but in John B. Watson, he used an experiment, Little Albert, which is a human, a child. He used a child to experiment if if a child will react. Okay, next slide. Okay, according to John B. Watson, give me a dozen healthy infants. Slide. Okay, according to John B. Watson, give me a dozen healthy infants will form and my own specified world to bring them up in. I guarantee to take any one at random and train him to become any type of specialist. I might select doctor, lawyer, artist, merchant, chef, and yes, even beggarman and thief regardless of his talents, penchants, tendencies, abilities, vocations, and race of his ancestors. He is known for publishing an article titled Psychology as the Behaviorist Views It, a Little Albert. Okay, so this is the experiment of John B. Watson. He used an infant. Okay, so this is the experiment of John B. Watson. He used an infant. The Little Albert experiments present an example of how classical conditioning can be used to condition an emotion response. Okay, here. So neutral stimulus the white rat. So this is the white rat. So conditioned stimulus the loud noise. So unconditioned response is fear. So when the infant saw the white rat, the child feel fear. So he cried in this picture. So unconditioned response is fear. Conditioned response the white rat. The conditioned response is fear. So this is the experiment of John Watson, the Little Albert. Okay, next slide. So the next slide is the Ivan Pavlov's influence. So Watson's work was based on the experiments of Ivan Pavlov, who had studied animals' responses to conditioning. He became interested in the work of Ivan Pavlov and included a brief summary of Ivan Pavlov's works in his major works. Pavlov believed, as Watson was later to emphasize, that humans react to stimuli in the same way. Okay, so B. Skinner. So B. Skinner believed that the best way to understand behavior is to look at the causes of an action and its consequences. Hmm. Okay. He called this approach operant conditioning. Operant conditioning is a method of learning that occurs through rewards and punishments for behavior. Okay. Oh, here. This is the operant. Okay, so B. Skinner. So B. Skinner believed that the best way to understand behavior is to look at the causes of an action and its consequences. He called this approach operant conditioning. Operant conditioning is a method of learning that occurs through rewards and punishments for behavior. Okay. Oh, here. This is the operant. Oh, here. This is the operant conditioning. It is a method of learning that occurs through rewards and punishments. Rewards cause an increase in behavior, while punishment decrease the behavior. So, okay, so for example of operant conditioning. So when a student gets praise or a good grade every time they submit a homework on time because of this reward, the student is more likely to keep doing their homework regularly. So that is the operant conditioning. Rewards cause an increase in behavior while punishment decrease the behavior. So the reward in the example is the student gets praise and get a good grade because the students every time they submit a homework on time. So that's why the student is more likely to keep doing their homework regularly. So the aspect of inoperant conditioning is positive reinforcer. When you say positive reinforcer, it is something added after behavior that increases the chance the behavior will happen again. So, for example, a teacher gives a star or praises to a student for finishing homework. Then the student is more likely to keep doing homework on time. That is a positive reinforcement. It is a positive reinforcer. It is a reward given to encourage good behavior. A negative reinforcer is something that is removed after a behavior to increase the behavior in the future. For example, a student finishes homework early so the teacher removes extra assignments or allows them to skip a difficult task. The student is more likely to finish homework early again. In short, a negative reinforcer means removing something unpleasant to encourage good behavior. So, positive punishment is something unpleasant added after behavior to make it happen less. For example, a student talks in class and the teacher gives us extra work. The student is less likely to talk again. While the negative punishment, something pleasant is taken away after a behavior to make it happen less. For example, a student misbehaves and loses computer time or recess, the student is less likely to misbehave again. So in short, in positive punishment, it adds something bad, while the negative punishment remove something good. Both are used to reduce unwanted behavior. So that is the example of operant conditioning. Okay, next slide. Okay, so important people in behaviorism. Ivan Pavlov did the experiment with the dogs, came up with a theory of classical conditioning. So that is the